faith is rational. Faith and reason are not at opposite ends of the spectrum. Faith and science are not at opposite ends of the spectrum. If there is truth, if God exists, then truth converges. Then this should make sense. Science and faith should be able to come together. All right, here we go. We're going to look at this argument called the first cause argument for God's existence. We're going to do 3 of them, okay? I need a volunteer. Need some help? You have to be an artist in order to volunteer, so it really narrows down. You know, crayons, maybe that counts. You can paint your toenails, okay, fine. I know you want to go up there. You there, back there. Come on, the black shirt, come on. Come on. Hustle up here too, let's move. We're on a time constraint. Now he's an artist. Thank you for running. Where's that? Well, you're just going to speak from the podium. We have that handheld mic. Okay, what's your name?
Jose.
Jose, you're a good-looking guy, Jose.
Thanks.
Where are you from?
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Outstanding. Lake Geneva, beautiful place. So you are an artist.
Yeah.
What kind of art? Explain to your brothers and sisters what kind of art you're into.
Well, I can kind of okay at like drawing, coloring.
You're kind of okay at drawing and coloring. So if we gave you a coloring book, you'd be inside the lines. That's what you're telling us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, okay. So, well, we're just going to take his word for it. He's an artist. What's like the nicest thing you've ever drawn?
This year in art, I do paint a bird in a tree.
He painted a bird in a tree.
Got an A on it.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Jose, all right. Jose, I need you to draw that bird and that tree right now. Okay, you got 15 seconds. All right, draw that bird and that tree. All right, let's go.
What?
Jose, you're not helping me out, man. Help me out, man. What's the problem?
I don't have anything to do it with.
He doesn't have anything to do it with. So you telling me that you need crayons,
yeah,
or colored pencils,
yeah,
or watercolor paint? Acrylic. You're very sophisticated, Jose.
I know.
I know. You're funny. Okay, Jose, see if you can follow this argument. We'll put back up the slide. Check this out. See if this makes sense to you. So the first cause argument, here we go. From nothing, nothing comes. Huh? Jose can't draw anything. He can't create anything because he has nothing to work with. It's an obvious point. From something, something can come. Now, Jose is an accomplished artist. He's drawn a bird and a tree. He knows how to use acrylic paints. He's a talented guy here. If we were to give him some acrylic paints, you could make magic with that, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he could draw that bird and that tree if we gave him something, but he doesn't have anything. Look, no cause, no effect. That picture doesn't get drawn by itself. Jose has to do it. No creator, no creation, no God, no universe. Now, Jose, you can have a seat. Let's give him a hand. That was fun. Physicists are pretty much consistent. There's a consensus that says that the universe started from the Big Bang, the standard Big Bang theory, okay? That there was, in the beginning, something, but it was very small, and now it's expanding, and it's become what we know of as the universe. This proof, philosophical proof. It's not a scientific proof for the existence of God. We're not getting out our beaker and our Bunsen burner, combining chemicals here to prove it. Just like scientists can never disprove God's existence. But this argument says that, if the universe started, which we think it did, from this Big Bang, then there had to be a first cause. You follow that? It's pretty simple, but it's convincing. You have to be clever to say, no, the universe was infinite. We don't think that that's true because it's expanding. Or that there were an infinite amount of universes. So there might be a billion universes out there, and ours is just one of them. You got to be clever not to understand that argument. Okay, I need 2 more volunteers. We're going to do the argument from design. You don't have to be an artist, okay? You don't need any special skills. In fact, you just don't get mad at me if I make fun of you or something like that, okay? That's all you need. So you need like thick skin for this. Okay, you? Huh? And way in the back. Right here. Close now. Come on up, Fred. Look at it. You got 2 microphones. All right. So you guys ever play in the sandbox? Just stand there. You ever play in the sandbox? Yeah. Speaking of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do. Have you played in the sandbox recently?
Yeah.
Yes, of course you have. So you are digging in the sandbox. Come over here. This is the sandbox over here. You're digging in the sandbox. And you find something. This is clean. Okay? This is clean. What's your name, by the way?
Nicole.
Nicole. Nicole, you find something. Hold that up. Hold that up. Put it on your head. Huh? It's a hat. It's a hat. Look at that. Okay. Oh, yeah, you do. You do. See, you agreed to be publicly humiliated. This is wonderful. And Fred, you were digging in the sandbox and you found this. Fantastic. What does that say?
The Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion.
All right. It's a risky book. The argument from design. So, you can take that off your head. I'm sorry. You're such a good sport. That's fantastic. This is how the argument follows, okay? Argument from design. We won't put it up there real quick. See if you guys get this. Fred and Nicole, you're our experts up here. Where there is a design, there must be a designer. Now, I didn't go about the example right. Forgive me. I should have asked them some questions before I put this up. All right. So, in the sandbox, you find the bedpan. What do you assume? Do you assume that that's like a fossilized piece of mammoth poop? No. What do you assume that is?
A bedpan.
How do you assume that it got there?
An old person.
An old person was in your sandbox.
Yeah.
And left their bedpan.
Everyone's welcome.
I wonder what else they left. Huh? Well, then, anyway. Okay, so you assume rightly that where that bedpan is, that's just not. Why don't you think that that's like a fossil? I mean, it's a dumb question, but please answer it.
It looks like a bedpan.
Because it looks like a bedpan. It's plastic, Well, dinosaurs didn't have plastic, as far as we know. So, you found this book by Richard Dawkins called The God Delusion. Do you assume that... Okay, I'm not going to ask the same questions because they're dumb. You assume that somebody put that book there, right?
Yeah.
Who do you think the author is of that book?
Richard Dawkins.
Richard Dawkins. Thank you very much, you two. Thank you. We're going to move quicker because I'm short on time. Please give them a hand. You did excellent. Thank you. You can leave your microphone here. Yeah, it's taken me a little bit longer than I thought. Okay. So we'll go do another sign. Look, the argument from design. Now, I'm going to take a couple steps into some arguments that atheists will use to say that look, there is no God, okay? Traditionally, in the Bible, you read Psalm 19. Here's Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God. The firmament proclaims the work of his hands. Day unto day pours forth speech. Night unto night whispers knowledge. There is no speech, no words. Their voice is not heard. A report goes forth through all the earth. Their messages to the ends of the world. I don't know if you got that. The heavens declare the glory of God. That the heavens somehow show us that God exists. That is the argument of the Bible. What the ancients saw. They looked at the heavens. They climbed to the top of mountains and they read creation like a book. You discover this book, you look for the author, So creation is like a book. And it's meant to lead us to the author being the Most High. Babies, super cute. Dorothy Day might be a saint someday, worked with the poor in New York City. She was an atheist growing up. When she had her daughter, she said, I had to thank someone for this great gift. So many have come to faith based on children because they're beautiful. I have to thank somebody. You know, some people go in nature and see butterflies or observe, right from the textbook, the hydrologic cycle, the water cycle, how it's ordered, and say, this can't just be happenstance, Some people look at the human eye with the rods and the cones and how it processes, how we see color and how we see depth, and the amount of cells that are in the eye, and say, there must be a designer. Here's what the atheist says. The atheist says, look, I see all of that stuff and I can explain it. Richard Dawkins, in his book, The God Delusion, he says when he was 13 years old, he was raised sort of like nominally Christian in name only. He says that he understood that the argument evolution via natural selection demolished the need for the existence of God. This is how he understood it. He said that, he understood that God created the puppies themselves. Like God made a little puppy and there it went. He says, no, we understand evolution via natural selection. We don't need to hold for a God. That natural selection explains it. And it can look at the universe and say, well, the same thing. It can go back to the Big Bang. Of course, there are some problems with that. One of the problems is that even if you discern where, say, the book came from, or the factory that produces the cars, you still haven't discerned who made the factory. You understand that? You see that argument? So you may have explained evolution via natural selection, which as Catholics, you can hold to that theory. What we hold as Catholics is that with every human person, that God creates the soul in the person, that we descended from, two first parents, but you can hold to evolution if you want. There's a lot of evidence to corroborate the theory. So one of the objections to Dawkins is that, look, even if you say evolution via natural selection explains the human eye, explains babies, etc., it doesn't explain who designed the process that could create it. Another objection is this. Dawkins insists, I'm just going to read from my notes. Dawkins insists that natural selection is the designer, an impersonal cause that arose over the course of time and gave us life as we know it. However, is it possible that design happens by chance without a designer? The answer to that question is yes. For instance, it would be possible that if we put 1 million monkeys at 1 million computers for 1 million words, you put monkeys in a room, you gave them a computer that maybe they would have typed out randomly Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Maybe they would have done that in 1 million years. Here's the problem with that. Who uses a 1 in a trillion explanation for something? Rather, we intelligently assume that the speech comes from an intelligent author. One more, and then I'm going to switch to Bill Clinton. Didn't expect to see him here this morning. Back in 1994, there's a guy to his left-hand side, mustache, glasses. His name's Francis Collins. They came up with something called he was in charge of something called the Human Genome Project, where they mapped human DNA. Francis Collins also wrote a book called The Language of God. A scientist presents evidence for belief. They mapped the 92% of the human genetic code, and Francis Collins said he also grew up non-religious, became a Christian later in life. He says, look, the design here, which if you typed out the letters on pieces of paper like this and you stacked them up, 92% of the human genetic code, it would be a stack of papers as tall as the Washington Monument. He says, when I see DNA, I see God. This is too much. This is too complex, okay? I see God. And many others argue the same way. Hopefully, we do have to be able to explain our beliefs to others. And hopefully, and this will all be on the internet in a few weeks, but you know, you check out some resources. If you have questions, there are answers. So I just put some resources on there, and eventually that'll be on the internet. You can get a hold of that if you want. Okay, argument from religious experience. Richard Dawkins. I'm going to read a little bit from his book. In this book, The God Delusion, he goes through the arguments for the existence of God and comes at each of them. From the part where he argues against personal experience as evidence for the existence of God. If I had to write a book, God is Real, I would write the book based on more or less my experience. One of the cleverer and more mature of my undergraduate contemporaries, who is deeply religious, and Dawkins was from England, went camping in the Scottish Isles. In the middle of the night, he and his girlfriend were woken in their tent by the voice of the devil, Satan himself. There could possibly be no doubt. The voice was in every sense diabolical. My friend would never forget this horrifying experience, and it was one of the factors that later drove him to be ordained. My youthful self was impressed by his story, and I recounted it to a gathering of zoologists relaxing at an inn in Oxford, England. Two of them happened to be experienced ornithologists or, bird scientists, and they roared with laughter. Manx shearwater, they shouted in delighted chorus, the name of a bird. One of them added that the diabolical shrieks and cackles of this species have earned it, in various parts of the world, in various language, the local nickname, devil bird. So you see what Dawkins does. He says his friend becomes a clergyman because one of the reasons is because he has this experience where he thinks he hears the voice of the devil. And so he believes in supernatural reality. Dawkins says that, look, your mind was playing tricks on you. This was a bird. And he boils down religious experience to this. And this is what I found fascinating, That's not a very good explanation for religious experience. He certainly didn't talk to you or I about religious experience. When I was in high school, was, I guess, searching for truth, and I ended up meeting God when I was 19 years old in college. But I just want to give you a little bit of the background. Raised in a Catholic home, good parents, wasn't the worst guy, but certainly, I got in all kinds of trouble, I ain't gonna lie, just kind of a knucklehead guy. I'd like to have fun. I once got a detention for rolling a barrel down a hill at a group of students. That was the most fascinating detention ever. Should have saved it. Got into the whole partying thing, chasing women, mostly unsuccessfully, never have been smooth, and I don't have that nice of hair. And I realize that. You got me there. But was trying to find my place, I don't know, but just did a lot of things that I was ashamed of. I would get drunk and just make a complete fool of myself at times. Was just sort of spinning my wheels. I thought that maybe, we play football, and we sunk all kinds of time and energy into football in high school. We won a state championship as seniors. We walked off the field, Ford Field in Detroit, state champions, and, we partied, smoked a big sack of dope the rest of the week. And, and by the end of the week, we're like, what was this all about? Huh? So I was just kind of a guy that was searching. I had a girlfriend, and she told me once, she says, I feel like I'm dating potential. I said, that's rude. And it is, but it was true. So, kind of a hurting guy. I ended up going to a college, and at the college, they did things like they went on mission trips. They went and served people. I was like, man, I'm into that. I've tried the other stuff, would like to try something new. I didn't know that you could have like a personal relationship with God. It was a Protestant school called Hope College, and they would have little 20-minute services. And during the worship service, sometimes the students would talk. A girl got up and she talked about like she had a dialogue with God, where she was talking to God and God was talking back to her. And it kind of blew my mind. She lived in my dorm. We kind of walked by her like hi, respectfully, but didn't get it at all. Ended up going to a conference like this, University of Illinois, 20,000 college students. It's called Urbana, way back when. And they gathered people up. The second day, I was like some of you, who are falling asleep. I actually had fallen asleep through this talk. A guy was talking about the Bible, but then he started to talk about getting us in groups to confess our sins at the end. That was really something I wanted to do, and I woke up, I came to, we gathered in small groups to confess our sins to each other, because again, it's not Catholics, evangelical Protestants, and I didn't get a chance to do it, but they said if you didn't get a chance to, speak your piece in the group, come down to the auditorium floor. I came down to the auditorium floor and, just prayed to God. I didn't, say the probably perfect words or whatever, but left the auditorium, and that day, like scales fell from my eyes. Like a spiritual reality that I had no idea existed opened up to me. It's a true story. It's just what happened. It was powerful. Jesus came in. I mean, bring this point up and I'm going to end up running just slightly over time, but I want to talk about that, it's not only just believing that God exists. God is a God of encounter. He wants to encounter us. What I didn't know is that he had been pursuing me by, and this is interesting, showing me so many things that I chased after to be unfulfilling, whether that was being socially popular or achieving some goal in sports or whatever, showing me that there was much more to life than that. Here are some of the fruits of that encounter. One, just had an experience with God that I, closest with God that I didn't know exist. Two, honestly addicted to sexual sin. It was gone. It was gone. I used to, listen to Snoop Dogg and Eazy-E, and don't go YouTube this stuff, huh? But that was kind of like my vocabulary, so I could use the F word as an adjective, an adverb, a noun, any way, and it was gone. Huh? I had a dependence on alcohol and social situations. I couldn't go out without drinking or smoking or something because I was nervous. And that was gone. See, the fruit of this encounter was so profound. It was so profound that it's not like what, Dawkins talks about, you just understand that it was some devil bird, and then, the God myth is dismissed. It's so much deeper than that. It absolutely changed my life in an extremely positive way. The incarnation makes sense. Some atheists, I read these guys, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, they make fun of, yeah, right, God became man. You know how much sense that makes? It makes incredible sense. If I wanted to communicate to you, say you're 16, a 16-year-old girl, the best way for me to do that would be to become a 16-year-old girl. Well, I already wear the dress, but I'm 20 years older than that. No, whatever. We like to have it, huh? We're thinking about making a short one for the summer. What do you think? Like a mini habit? Huh? Kind of like a jumper? The incarnation makes all kinds of sense. It shows God's brilliance. I think it makes more sense than the belief of the Quran, where God just sort of speaks from heaven and somebody writes it down. He comes among us and shows us who the Father is. He reveals him. Jesus Christ walked the earth, historical fact. Some people say you guys believe in a myth. He didn't really live. No serious historian buys that. Nobody buys that. It's fact. There's more evidence for him, his existence, than Caesar's. God has revealed himself and does not want to remain unknown. Just a brief quote from a singer-songwriter I hadn't heard of, but I was just digging around on the internet. He happened to live in Minneapolis, too. His name's Mason Jennings. The song is called I Love You and Buddha Too. Oh, Jesus, I love you and I love Buddha too. Ramakrishna, Gurudev, Tao Te Ching, and Mohammed. Why do some people say that there is just one way to love you, God, and come to you? We are all a part of you. You are unnameable. You are unknowable. All we have is metaphor. Okay, whatever. God has revealed himself. And if you study any religion seriously, you have to move beyond that. I mean, that's kind of child's play. It's not using your head. God has revealed himself. God has spoken to us. And then the last point. Jesus lives and wants to encounter us. He wants to encounter us, and this is what this weekend is all about. So as we continue, we simply pray that we can be open to that encounter. Amen?